Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Who dares awaken me from my well-deserved slumber? Ernie Davieau, the Squatch Whisperer. Yes, once again, it is time to link up for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. It is always enjoyable to see my guests and host make their way into the Fox Den. Much better now that I am fully revamped, recharged, and my shackles have been released. It is time for the Midnight Society to take a walk into the darkness. And remember, massacres make the dream work, or something like that.
Blow, cracks, shadows morph, fangs pierce, beasts reborn, fury rise, hell's ignite, burning rays, endless nights.
When I looked into the eyes of this Dogman, there was nothing. This thing was an apex predator.
Milk road, cracks, shadows morph, fangs pierce, beasts reborn, fury rise, hell's ignite, burning rays, endless nights.
My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back once again to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. Ernie, the Squatch Whisperer, yes, another member of the Midnight Society, is once again here to help figure out what is going on in Michigan with the infamous Dogman. Ernie, my guy, what's good? How you been?
I've been doing pretty good, not too bad. I know you've been doing pretty good too. We both got our health, I guess, this time around. So I guess I'm in to get my monthly fix from you here in a little while.
This is excellent. No, I appreciate you popping on and allotting some of your time amongst your busy schedule. And yeah, I've just been trying to grind away and getting caught up. I was slacking on a few. I really use just YouTube and such. I mean, I have Instagram and Facebook and such. I'm not really the biggest into those. I mean, I use them, but either way, long story short, is I needed to go on there and just wipe out old images, old information, put up new stuff, and blah, monotonous, but it's pretty much finished up. So
Well, you're making headway, so that's a really good thing. You know what I mean? You know, you really put your nose to the grinding stone and do what you got to do. What amazes me the most about you is you're doing all of this. People don't realize this out here. You're doing all this with a cell phone.
yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, I'm surprised the Russians haven't come down and tried to recruit you yet.
That is hilarious. No, Ernie is correct. I do 90% of everything from my iPhone, but I do have a Samsung art tablet that I do use occasionally. And I mean, I am an artist, but I have a lot of amazing artist friends as well that love to contribute to what I'm doing. And they also really enjoy drawing from scratch. So they help a ton with my art as well. And yeah, I use some AI foundations, but I still go through and have to, well, people don't understand. So say I could type in something with AI werewolf, but it might come out with 6 hands, an extra leg, different color eyes, all
Right.
these things. I then have to run it through a bunch of different editing programs to tone down the contrast, the saturation, the fade, and then I need to make sure that the shadows are hitting the right area. I need to remove that extra leg. So just even using with the AI sometimes will be time consuming. So not that I don't enjoy creating my own stuff 100% organically from scratch, but there's other people in my squad that enjoy doing that much more than I do, which would help me out a ton. So
I I mean, really, truthfully, kudos to you. And I just want to bring it out to everybody listening tonight too. Is I don't know if everybody caught your last podcast. I know it's out there, just a couple of days old. But when you talked about, we have the problem in the communities on people faking and hoaxing and this and you just made it so, you just put it out there so eloquently that if you think you can take photographs and you're destroying the community, you're really hurting it. But Kenny was able to actually demonstrate and go through the whole thing on how easy it is for somebody to take something off of a trail cam or whatever. They're time stamped, they're dated and they're time stamped. So folks, don't think that you can go out there and do something like that, because if you do it, I'm a moderator in a few groups. Because you're going to not just get blocked, you're going to get banned. You won't be in any of the groups. Your name will be flying around North America. Just keep it down, and it's all because Kenny brought that to my attention. I was amazed by how easy it really is, but you're going to get caught for sure doing it. So I'm ready for my fix here, Kenny.
Well, first off, no, I appreciate you. And that was actually my little brother's idea. Just a little summary of that, real quick, is him and I are working on, one of them is in post right now, a live action werewolf video where he played the werewolf, and basically it's like me transforming into it. And the other one, we're waiting for one of my friends. She busted her leg up a little bit, but she wants to do some pretty cool like skinwalkery like stuff up in the tree kind of, and we have to make sure she can walk properly first. Yeah, we're gonna work on that here hopefully within the next couple of weeks. But what had happened with that is we're out filming, right? Boom, using the iPhone and using his brand new Samsung, and literally he's got the mask on, and all he does is look out from beside the tree. And at that point in time, we didn't realize the quality of that image until after we're sitting down or uploading everything onto Google Drive, so that way I can transfer it over and start working on my stuff, because some of the stuff we did on his Samsung and other on the Apple. So obviously if I want the Samsung stuff, I got to put it on Google Drive, because we all know how Samsung and Apple don't like each other either way. So we get it all loaded up, and he's like, dude, look at this, man. My eyes here are already red. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? They already are. And I was like, man, you know how easily I could literally make a hoax out of this? It's pathetic, dude. And he was like, you really should. And I was like, but I really don't want to waste my time. But then Ryan Tremblay as well, because I had mentioned it to him. He's like, yeah, you really should. And I was like, ah, crap. All right, well, it's only 45 minutes out of my time to put this video together, and whatever. It's still useful to showcase that I am a graphics designer, videographer, whatever. So I put it through, like I just said, man. You take it. I didn't really need to edit it at first because I already had that coloring from his eye. But then I went into a real trail camera that I had, snidbit, the time, the date,
Yeah, right.
stamp, boom, make it transparent, and then you put it over the other photo, and then you edit it a little bit to add some shadows so that the transparency of the stamp fits on it perfect. Boom,
Right.
and there you go. Just like that, you
Damn.
now have somebody being, hey, well, wait a second, see, it's got the trail cam date and stamp on it. It has to be real. No, it does not. I literally just explained in a 5-minute video how to do that.
Exactly. And not to take everything away here because we want to get out of here. iOS 18 just came out. So the problem that Samsung was having and Apple was having with each other, we're now like brothers from the same mother just about now. They will communicate a lot better. Check into that. That just came out.
No, that is some pretty cool stuff. I will have to look into that. And I did actually, I got the iPhone 15 Max Pro, but I'm not wanting to just buy a new iPhone every year, because the
No.
one I have is still going to be just as fun as the other one. But I am always a little timid, because I did just update to 17 point whatever the heck it was, but it also did, tell me 18 is out. But I always
Yeah.
wonder about that, is if 18, did they purposely put out 18 just to start beating the Christmas trees out of your phone, so you have to get the new one?
Yeah, I think so. What you can check this out too. You're gonna have to go into your settings and adjust your battery charging, and it will only let you charge up to 80%, but you can change it so it'll charge up to 95%. No, I don't know.
Bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of fooey is that. Why I don't get 100%, but whatever.
Interesting. Yeah, you'll have to update me a little bit more, because, like you said, I don't want to hold you up too much from your fix here of some of the
Yeah.
Michigan Dogman. So
Yeah.
we're going to start with July 16th, 1987, 2:48 p.m., Luther, Michigan. Sheriff Jeff Chamberlain is called out to a remote cabin for what is initially believed to be vandalism. Deputy Chamberlain finds what he believes are deep claw marks and scratches, as well as punctures all over the screen doors and the windows. There are also deep scratch marks all down the side of the cabin, which look to also have been done by something with 5 digits, including potentially a thumb. Deputy Chamberlain goes on to say there was bloody slobber all over the door and windows, which was well above his head, and there was massive damage all over the cabin. Deputy Chamberlain said the slobber was still wet and seemed fresh. He filed his report with the National Department of Resources, who did their own investigation by sending in Lieutenant Devin McDeal, who also found the strange tracks Deputy Chamberlain had mentioned, but he also found a bunch more that led away off and deep into the forest.
Wow. Yeah, that I would have been more comfortable if I was there with these Mounties, that the blood slobber was dry myself. I mean, to still be wet, I'd be really concerned, that's for sure. And just having puncture marks on the screen, I'm thinking that if it would have been a bear, I mean, they're not describing any footprints they found, so that's a little bit of a concern for me and a red flag. But the puncture marks on the screens, a bear would have just ripped them screens right out, tried to get in. If it was doing that all around the cabin, did you say that it went up on top of the cabin too?
No, he said it went well above his head. I can't.
Oh,
I think he said he was like 5'11" ish, right under 6 feet. So when he reached his hands up, still it was well above his full reach, even when he was on his tippy toes. So it means obviously something had to have been large enough to be at that height to have done that. And he said it looked like something was literally trying to chew underneath the side of the door, like just trying to rip and chew into it.
wow. That's interesting right there, because I know dogs will do that. You know, my brother had a husky that actually did that one time, trying to get out after something. Was starting down near the bottom of the door and trying to chew up the footing on the door. So that's pretty interesting. Nobody was home or anything like that. So, or was somebody home? Did they say somebody was home
No,
there?
so it's in that area with Luther. So the cabin itself is pretty remote, but you know how in those areas, obviously there's still other residents in that remote area. So they're still going to use the one main road that kind of goes all around that. It was reported by neighbors. I don't know how close the neighbors lived in, actual
Yeah.
distance wise from that cabin, but I do know the owner of the cabin was not home. It was somebody else that had driven by and that actually claimed to have seen this
Wow.
crazy looking like creature trying to rip in through the house. They weren't sure if it was a person or what, just beating the
Really?
crap out of this cabin. So
Yeah, and they weren't even sure if it was a person or not. And you know that, usually it's not that it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it was pretty light out there. So just by saying looked like a person, I mean bipedal or what, but that's still pretty strange that it would be chewing on stuff like that, unless it was maybe perhaps our other buddy there, the dog man, you
yeah,
know.
because even if you were a person, man, I mean, even if you're up on some strange substances, chewing, dude, I mean, I don't really see how I could chew even if I was messed up on stuff through a door or trying to. And even if we were bleeding from the mouth, there's a difference between slobber and human bloody saliva, is there not?
Uh, you'd have broken your corn grabbers would be all over the ground.
That's what I'm saying, man. So there really is no. It had to be at least an animal. I'm not, saying it has to be a dog man, but it is
Right.
kind of strange that they found those large, elongated canine-like tracks, which sounds like the ones that we have on file, and that it seemed to be like dog slobber. It's just really bizarre. I mean, how or why did that occur? I mean, it has to have been an animal, like I said, at least.
Yeah, not a wounded animal either, because I've seen animals that were shot before that the blood will come out their mouth, from
Hmm.
lung shots or anything like that. But they don't stick around. They're going for water. They're not trying to break in to cook themselves a tuna fish sandwich and some eggs.
I'm thinking, like you said, maybe it had previously hunted and just fed, or maybe it did cut itself, maybe in its mouth a little bit while it was trying to chew in through the door or something, which I guess could explain like the other bloody slobber as it was looking around, or pissed off now that I had just sliced its mouth open or something.
Might have eaten somebody's cat or dog, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it really could have. So, yeah, that's just super ironic. And I know Deputy Chamberlain, he spoke about it then, but he kind of got trolled and he's never really spoken about that afterwards. So, I mean, he gave his testimony, which I just read to you, and he spoke about it
Yeah.
on History Channel. But after that,
Yeah.
he's kind of disappeared. So,
Yeah, you don't want to talk about it. That was his job. He did his job right, you know?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
wow,
exactly. So,
there's something up there marching around, that's for sure. I wouldn't mind going up there, you know, and spending some time up there just to see. Of course, well armed.
I'm sure Brian Barber would go out with you. He's right up in Werewolf Square, man. So,
Oh, you're right. He is up there and
yeah,
stuff.
he is. He's one of my good buddies. He's a great guy. But yeah, he's right up there with you. He would more than love to go out and go some squatching with you, because I know he's just kind of getting his health back up rolling too. So
Ah, yeah, I think I've been on his show too, but yeah, next time you talk to him, say hello. I'll probably shoot him a message tonight.
yeah,
And
well, you should shoot him a message, but I'll definitely make sure to toss it out to him. And here's this next one for you. 1988, 10 a.m., Alto, Michigan. A young boy is outside playing at school. As the boys are playing hide and seek during recess, he finds himself hiding in the forest near a large tree. Suddenly, a 6 to 8 foot tall, massive, dark black, human like canine creature with bright blue eyes darts across a stream up ahead on two legs, and then back down onto four, back up onto two, back down onto four until it vanished off into the forest.
wow, I don't really know what to make of that one right there. I mean, you know, from my encounter, um, close up with the blue eyes, I mean, you have to be kind of pretty close to see that, first of all. From going up to down and back up to two legs and back down to four legs. Hmm.
See, that's how
That,
I think they run right there personally. And that's what I'm trying to kind of work on with our science team is picture, how a bear runs, right? You know how the bear
yeah.
pushes itself up with the front legs a little bit more? Well, they say the dog man's got a hunched over kind of posture where it seems like its center of gravity almost looks like it's going to tip over, but it has arms that are down past its knees, kind of.
Right.
So I really think it prefers to be quadrupedal and it's quicker like that. But obviously, when you stand up, like you and I have spoken about before, you look more menacing and such. But obviously, if it was fully comfortable bipedally, then why is it going back and forth?
That, you know, I was just going to say something like that too, because if you look at apes, gorillas, it's their preference to be moving around on all fours.
Baboons, yes, exactly.
Yes. And then you're going to get to animals that you'll notice, even a dog, my dog, for instance, when she alerts to something, she tries to get her head as far up as possible to actually smell the air, the currents, and everything.
Hmm.
So that could be what's going on. Is this thing preferred running on all fours, which tells me it's probably not a Sasquatch, and it was coming up to smell everything in the area. It's probably getting downdrafts off a hill or something is going on there.
100%. And some other animals that are comfortable like that. I mean, squirrels are very comfortable being up on their back legs and moving around like that. Same thing though. They obviously prefer to be on all fours, but they use their front arms all the time. I mean, same thing with raccoons and such. So, no, it is really interesting. And again, I would show it, but with YouTube and such, I do not own the video and I don't even know who originally does to contact them to ask if I could show it. But there is a video of a pretty large grizzly bear that is walking bipedally outside past this person's kitchen, and it walks upright for quite a long time. Sure, it doesn't look like the most smooth and like it would feel totally comfortable on it, but it did it. So anyone that seems to think that for 10, 15 yards, which could be very long for a sighting or something, that they couldn't be misidentifying a thing, I do believe that they still could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that they like anything, you know, you speak of the squirrels and stuff, and you'll notice that when they're sitting there and they grab something to eat, then they get up straight up just about because
Yes.
they're alert, they're looking around, and that's what we would do. We would be the fool if we went to a pool of water knowing that a predator is tracking us and we just got down on all fours and started lapping up the water with our tongue. It's not a really smart thing to do. Animals don't even really do that. Like deer will because they have to, but they'll snap.
Yeah.
And plus they have other deer that will either flag them or stomp their feet. Now bears, grizzly bears, he could have been a little bit intimidated in the area, trying to be on alert for people that were out there. He didn't want to get himself into a little bit of trouble trying to get a jelly sandwich or something like that. So who knows why it went as long as it did. I have seen them hunting where they will get up on two legs and they'll walk for a while on two legs, looking around, trying to pick up where's that odor coming from. So who knows there? But they don't go real far. They don't really run on two legs. So
Exactly.
they don't run on the two legs. They still prefer the four legs.
Yeah, so I'm not saying obviously that people are seeing bears. I'm just honestly
Right.
playing devil's advocate and saying that is occurring sometimes. Because
Yeah.
I can give an example right now before I read you this next one. I mean, if you were to look out your window right now and I don't know, maybe 10, 15 yards away, raccoons like to be up in trees. If a raccoon was looking around a tree and just holding kind of the side of that, you're not going to be able to judge its height range. Some people who apparently might panic a little bit more could be like, oh, wow, that thing's going to be standing up looking around the tree and not even take a thought to be like, hey, that could be a raccoon because it's going to have glowing eyes and raccoons have pretty big heads. So somebody in actuality could think that was some sort of dog man looking behind a tree, but it could just be a raccoon.
Sure. And that's when your fear's overrunning you. You got to remain calm. You got to breathe through your nose, breathe through your mouth, tell yourself to calm down because it just might be a raccoon, just like you're saying. And in doing something like that, well, now you can differentiate between a raccoon and maybe a werewolf. You know what I mean?
You know who Todd Metz is, right? From the West Coast Dogman Vortex. He's Shane's co-host.
No, I don't think I do.
So he's Shane Michael Chris co-host on the West Coast Dogman Vortex and the West Coast Dogman Project. So I
Yep.
brought him up because he actually had a really awesome trail cam picture from the side of his house where it was the shadow of a raccoon. And obviously when the light went off on the trail camera, the raccoon spooked and stood up. So it's just a shadow, but it literally looks like the shadow of a mini dog, man.
Oh, geez. Kenny, I just had one online here in one of the groups, and the guy I can't tell you where he was from, but it is obviously a cow. It is obviously a cow. You can't mistake it for anything but a cow. Even other people were saying it was a cow, and then other people were chiming in, and
What
he's
the
saying,
hell, dude?
yeah, and he was claiming it was a mermaid. Folks, you gotta get control. Okay, you
Yeah.
gotta get control of your thoughts because
Yes.
your eyes will lie. Let me tell you,
Your brain will lie, yeah.
everything, and they say it's to protect your psyche or to protect your brain. Well, I got to tell you what is you don't have much anyways to lose, if you stop breathing. Okay, breathe through your nose and really look at what you're looking at. Because to make matters worse, in that case, the guy actually came in and said, "Well, I think it's one of them Hawaiian mermaids." And I'm
Oh,
like,
jeez,
okay,
oh, crow.
yeah, like I'm all set. I'm all set with that. He didn't even get up on it. So
That reminds me of, before I get you this next encounter,
yeah,
there was a video on Facebook a while ago that an African American man had posted where he had claimed that it was a dog man running through his yard. But from the research we did, we're pretty sure it was a horse that had run into the side of his house because when you see it running as well, it looks like a horse or a deer or something. It does not look like a dog man, but he
right.
again was trying to say it was. And I think it obviously is just because if you hear something smashing into the side of your house and you're watching
Yeah,
an episode of
Twilight
Monster
Zone.
Quest or something, or Twilight, yeah, whatever, you're obviously going to be like, oh, what the heck, man? There's a raptor outside of my house now.
Yeah, there's one in my backyard. Yeah, it happens. I've seen people. They literally hunters will do that. First time hunters and stuff. They panic. So what do you got for me? What's the next one here?
All right, so we have winter 1990, Luther, Michigan. An 18-year-old girl sneaks outside to an old barn behind her house to have a cigarette. As she is smoking, suddenly Loud growls and scratching noises begin erupting from behind the barn. Looking over, she sees two large, globe like red eyes looking at her. Mortified, she immediately drops her cigarette before bolting back inside the house, locking the door behind her and then proceeding to run upstairs to her room. She is even more terrified when she looks out her second floor window and sees what she describes as an enormous werewolf like creature standing over her cigarette, clawing at it. Gasping out in bewilderment, the creature hears the girl and looks up at her before ducking down and running off into the forest.
Wow. I have a little bit of an issue with this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she said she went outside, snuck outside to have a cigarette inside the barn. So it's definitely dark, pretty dark inside the barn because it wasn't winter time. Otherwise, there would have been a light on. There would have been a light bulb. It actually helps some of the animals in there, believe it or not, for folks listening to. Believe it or not, you get a little bit of warmth off it. It's good for them, But so obviously there was no light in there, and she dropped her cigarette. So obviously it wasn't, she didn't burn the barn down. That's a good, because we know what happens when you do things like that. I mean, I don't want to call anybody like a liar or a faker or anything like that, but I'm finding a little bit of a problem here with this. That she's seen it pick up her cigarette. She might have been really watching her cigarette to see if she can be able to rush back out there and get the last couple of drags because it was her last menthol, But I'm a little bit skeptical that I would need a really good description of what she actually seen and why it was so concerned about her cigarette, unless it was maybe Smokey the Bear. I don't know.
No, it is. That's what's so tough with pretty much in general, because I mean, we spoke to her and other people that know of her, and I mean, they all said that she is credible, etc. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's just her encounter. I mean, I wasn't there. None of her other family saw it. None of her other friends that solidify that she's honest saw it. So I don't know. I mean, she could have, like you said, but at the same time, she could be making it up as well. And that's what I try to tell people is when it's a one-sided narrative like that, it is hard really to ever fully verify it, because something like that has to sit at 50-50, because we can't debunk it, but we can't fully verify it either. So it's just in limbo.
Right. We have to give them credit on something like that at least. We just don't have enough information on that. And that's exactly what I would need. I would want to know, what was the line of sight? How far away were you from there? What were you concerned about with that cigarette starting? Maybe she could have been.
You know what's odd about that too is now that I think about that, before I read you one more, there actually is a lot of encounters where people are smoking and they claim that they have an encounter with this. There's actually a gentleman from Java, New York, named Dan, that has sent in some really effed up audio segments of what sounds to be like some crazy canine-like creature that does not sound native to New England. And we're actually having our science team look at it at the moment. And it's always when he's out smoking a cigarette, and there's been other people. It could be coincidental, but a lot of people say they seem to be drawn in by that smell or something. It's odd, which is really interesting.
I'm going to have to make a note on that there, because that's the first time that I've heard that you're finding something that correlates with some of the other people that they actually had an encounter while they were smoking a cigarette. We're not anybody listening, we're not pushing that you should start taking up cigarette smoking. But, maybe they're attracted to a certain brand.
It's just really strange, because there is a ton of encounters, like I said, where people are smoking. It could be coincidence. I don't know if I really believe in coincidences. There usually is reasons for that. So yeah.
Right. And we've gone over coincidences in some of your past podcasts and everything.
Exactly.
But it's something to look at as a behavioral thing, and we can't we're not going to take it, especially you're a journalist investigator. You're not going to throw anything off to the side. You're going to keep track of it and go back and say, hey, wait a minute, I've got 98% of all my people were smoking a cigarette. Maybe you should make a phone call, find out what cigarette it was, make a phone call to that company, and maybe get them to do whatever they do there, help you money wise for
I
promote.
know, right? It's so funny. Well, before I read this last one, and actually, again, on a funny note, like I tell everyone, it's cool that people are putting down something in an image by a footprint to give us some sort of comparison. But come on, a lighter or a pocket knife. My squirrel's foot. Okay, I put a
Yeah,
lighter down by her foot. Dude, her foot is almost the size of my middle finger, man. So if this canine looking print is only the size of a lighter, yo, that's not a dog man, okay? Like, why are we doing this here?
yeah, right. Yeah, people, yeah, people's minds run away with them. You know, they've never seen a really big dog. They've never really looked at a big dog track. And again, people listening, find some place that has wolves like that you can go look at. You know, they have
Yes, they're
in
big.
Ohio, and you'll be amazed at the size of the paw on a wolf and how tall some of them really are, how big they really are. You know, they're enormous. So a cigarette lighter, I mean, I don't even think they sell big cigarette lighters anymore. You know, as much. I mean, the Bic lighters are what is that? 2 inches?
Yeah,
What,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's nothing big. So, I mean, it's cool that someone puts down some sort of
yeah,
comparison, but it's like, yeah, let's be real here. I mean, as just stated, I've tried all those things, and my squirrel's feet are pretty dang big, man.
yeah. But next to a Bic lighter, they're going to be huge. That's going to become like a 200-pound squirrel.
That's what I'm saying. So it's all, I mean, I'm not saying people are purposely trying to be deceitful with that because they
Right.
are obviously trying to put down something as a reference guide, but that doesn't mean anything because, like you said, with that reference right there, you're going to make it look like it's a Godzilla squirrel. So.
Exactly. You have something on you that you can actually use. Fold it up, put it in your wallet. If you don't have a wallet, then ask for one for
Or even
Christmas.
your foot, man. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
all right, so I have a 45 in euro, man. Put your foot down beside it, okay? If it's something's as big as your foot, now we're talking a little bit, okay?
well, I'm still going to want two things then if they put their foot down, because then they're going to tell me they get a size 18 foot.
Yeah, no, truth, right?
No,
That's
no,
so funny.
we're not going to fall for that, folks. Try it again.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, this last one right here, we have October 11th, 2013, the Manistee National Forest, Lake County, Michigan. 2-year-old Amber Rose Smith opens the front door and walks off into the forest. Realizing his daughter is now missing, the man calls the police and a search party is quickly dispersed to help find the little girl. Miraculously, 24 hours later after disappearing, Amber is found almost 2 miles away from her house, just completely wandering around, oblivious. When rescued, the 2-year-old asked for food and said she had followed the family dogs into the forest. Oddly, though, Mr. Smith said the family dogs never left the yard. So she followed just dogs or dog looking things, but not her dogs.
Wow, that's I've heard of another story kind of like that where the little girl was found and she said a bear took care of her and fed her blueberries and everything else, and there's no logical reason how she survived in there, because I'm pretty sure that it was pretty cold for like
Hmm.
2 weeks or something like that. But this one here is quite similar to that too. So, geez, it does show a level of intelligence that's going on there. I mean, I'm wondering what your listeners will think about this. You know, they should send you comments on this one here. That's kind of mind-boggling. I mean, she's 2 years old. Is that
She's
correct?
2 years old. Yeah, 2 years old,
Hmm.
almost 2 miles plus away into the forest, and the father swears up and down the dogs never left the yard. So when the 2-year-old says she followed dogs into the woods, what dogs did she follow?
Yeah, what dogs did she follow? And I'm just going to throw it out there because I'm skeptical in a way, and I got to look at everything here because I'm thinking, and your listeners are going to think this way too in a second. I want to interview the father, you know, because
Yes,
let's just say that perhaps them dogs did go with her, and maybe he was going with her too, and she was calling the dogs. Okay,
yep.
I'm just it just the way that my mind works. Because for a 2-year-old, folks, go for a hike 2 miles out into the woods, and then try to
That's a
imagine.
long way, man. Yeah, dude.
And for that's a toddler. That's a 2-year-old that's only been walking for maybe a year. You know, that's a lot of. I don't know. I think that there might be something else playing in there, and she's not really even speaking that much either.
That's
So
what I was just gonna say. Again, it's almost like a one-sided story. I mean, you have the
yeah,
father, the one
yeah,
that makes the phone call, and then you have a 2-year-old that's trying to. All right, so one of my nieces is 3. She can say pretty funny little things like, "Uncle Kenny, why do you have that gross mustache on your face?" Like because I don't know, she's smart, right? But
yeah,
then she's still a 3-year-old, man. So there's still only so much that they're gonna comprehend. And
right,
now this person is 2. And I mean, I'm not trying to toot my niece's horn. My nieces are super smart. So I mean, I don't know who even knows how much this 2-year-old girl could really articulate any sort of
right.
vocabulary. So just the fact that she said family dogs is just bizarre. But like you said again, it's just a one-sided story, unfortunately.
Yeah, that I'd be I'm concerned about that one there. That's a
So many
concern.
are like that though, man. It's unfortunate. Like I said, it's
Yeah,
almost impossible, and nothing's
right.
impossible. But before we
Because
let you go, but it is true. I mean, you can. How much can that be verified? I mean, people can
exactly,
pass lie detectors all the time that are still liars. Lie detectors
exactly.
are not even close to valuable things that people should
Yeah,
use as a 100% definitive proof because they're not. Look it up. I mean, there's so many different criminals that have been able to figure out how to pass all kinds of
yep,
lie detectors and things. And then there's been
yep.
people that have been deemed credible that fail lie detectors. So
Sure. Look at our politics.
yeah, so it is, I don't know, on a final note, it's just imperative to always, yeah, like I said, be subjective, be objective. And yeah, it's tough though, because so many of the encounters are like that. I mean, even like the judge from Ohio, his encounter, again, it's just him that saw that. So yeah, he's a judge and he's considered a credible person, but again, no one else there. I mean,
Right,
most of the encounters or someone just driving down the road and it runs across the road. So not to say that these people are hoaxing or such,
right.
but again, it's still a one-sided perspective. It's a lot different if you had, for example, like that Watch Valley Ape Cat incident where a whole classroom and teachers witnessed this crazy looking baboon like canine like thing come in, steal their lunch and terrorize the whole entire little school.
Exactly.
Now you have numerous witnesses, but 90% of the time it's one-sided, man.
Yeah, and is what we're doing is on those one-sided ones is we have to look at the state of mind. We have to look at if somebody says, "Well, I wasn't really scared." Give me your background on how you control that. How have you been able to
Hmm.
control what kind of experience you have? Do you have experience in the military? What is it? Convince me that you don't scare, because I'll guarantee you that pretty much no matter who you are,
Unless
um,
you're a sociopath, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Sociopaths
yeah,
usually, unfortunately, makes like some of the better leaders during war and stuff because they aren't traumatized, for example, like other people are, and they just are able to still keep their cool. Yeah, it's
yeah.
interesting.
It's one of the requirements, actually, if you want a job in corporate America.
Right.
It
That's so
is.
awesome. You're the man, Ernie. Well, thanks again for stopping in tonight, man, and hanging out with us and being
Yeah,
part of Midnight Society and Star
mhm.
Fox Radio and Midnight Lycanthropy. I appreciate it for sure, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for everyone who once again stopped by tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share it. Feed the algorithm, and I will see you on the next one.